everybody, hope you all had a lovely weekend. So today we're going to be looking at a monologue from the Taming of the Shrew. As always, it will be in the description below, so take a moment to pause me, read it, and then come on back. So, the last time we looked at Taming, we did mention and we did talk about all of the issues that it has in a modern sense, particularly given how Petruchio treats Katherine during the second half of the play. We're not going to go into that in depth because the monologue we're looking at is again before it, but I do want to restate the obvious, that if you go and read this play or see a production of it, the things that Petruchio does to Kate are not okay. It is not okay to be a jerk, to be abusive to your partner, to your family, to your friends, to whoever. It's not good. So, and again, if you are a theater company that is performing this play, or if you are performing this play, you need to figure out why you're doing it, what is the point, how you're either making this slightly less bad, or how you're using it to make a social commentary, because that's what theater can be used for. Now, the monologue we're looking at today is one of Kate's, on the day she's supposed to get married to Petruchio, and this is where everything kind of goes wrong in this play. So, real quick rewind. Kate and Petruchio meet when Petruchio comes riding into town looking for a rich woman to marry, and Kate fits that bill. Her father is incredibly wealthy and has promised whoever marries Katherine, also known as Kate, a huge portion of that money should they marry her. And Petruchio comes and says, "Perfect, I'm the guy." And they meet, and they have one of the most fiery scenes in Shakespeare. And I mean that not necessarily in a they like each other a lot, but they are back and forth at each other. It's an incredibly well-written scene. It's very much back and forth. There's a very good energy to it as the two of them match wits. They are very similar characters. Both of them are very headstrong. Both of them use their wit. Both of them are very much a, you say something to them and they will turn it right back on you type of person. So they are really quite similar. And at the end of that scene, Petruchio says, yep, we have decided we're going to get married. Just ignore her if, she says otherwise, because, she said she was going to still pretend to hate me in public. Which probably should be our first clue that things are not going to go very well later on in the play for Katherine and Petruchio, but we can look at that later. So the day of the wedding arrives, and Katherine is there in her dress, ready to go, and Petruchio is nowhere to be found. He is not there. Now, slightly after this monologue that we're going to do today, Petruchio does show up looking like he just robbed a thrift store. Basically mismatched, completely disheveled, riding on a horse that only has, part of a saddle and looking absolutely atrocious, which, you don't want to do on your wedding day. You'd like to look nice because, it's a big day. But we won't get into Petruchio's ridiculousness now. Let's take a look at Kate's reaction to being left at the altar. She doesn't take it well. I mean, for obvious reasons. She's there, and here's the question that you have to ask yourself. Is Kate there willingly, or is she being forced there? Now, the two ways you can look at that is she could be there willingly. She doesn't give too much of resistance to the idea of marrying Petruchio. She does go along with this plan, and that speaks to one of two things. Either A, she does have more of a respect for the traditional Elizabethan women's role of, obeying and following the Lord than she has let on up to this point, or she actually is intrigued by Petruchio and is okay with being bound to him in marriage. Either one of those is a viable option. If she's kind of going along with it. However, she could be there completely against her will, which would fire up this monologue quite a bit more, because the monologue itself is sort of written as, at least at the beginning, as a kind of chastisement of herself for going along with this. But then she lays in and says, I told you that this guy was ridiculous. I told you he was a lunatic, but you didn't listen. And especially if she's not there of her own volition, that becomes very fiery. Today, we're going to look at it kind of as a combination of those two. For us, I'm going to look at it as if at the beginning she's very much just kind of down at the fact of like, I got left at the altar. Whether or not I really wanted to be here is irrelevant to the fact that I got left at the altar. And then it's a turnaround onto her family and friends for supporting this mad marriage, and a rail against Petruchio and what she is now imagining he probably does, which in her mind suddenly pops into this idea of, oh, I bet he does this all the time. He goes from town to town, wooing women and saying, hey, here's the marriage date, I'll be back, and then he never shows up and just moves on to the next girl type of thing. So yeah, it's a very quick transitions for a very short monologue. There's a lot going on in here. So we're going to see how well we kind of mix all of this together, shall we? No shame but mine. I must forsooth be forced to give my hand, opposed against my heart, unto a mad brain rudesby, full of spleen, who wooed in haste and means to wed at leisure. I told you, he was a frantic fool, hiding his bitter jests and blunt behaviour, and to be noted for a merry man, he'll woo 1,000, appoint the day of marriage, make friends invited, and proclaim the banns, yet never means to wed where he hath wooed. Now must the world point at poor Katherine and say, lo, there is mad Petruchio's wife, if it would please him to come and marry her. And that is Kate. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye!